Greatest intro song in the world.
Jeff's favorite intro song. All right, welcome to the podcast. So glad you have joined us, and I'm glad to be back in Tennessee.
Are you? Has Julie called you yet?
Kind of. She didn't call me this time.
Yeah, we don't worry about Colorado as much.
Yeah, that's true. You probably should be, though. I love Colorado.
Really?
Like, if it wasn't for the Lord's calling and family, I would 100% be living in Colorado.
Yeah, and all the marijuana they smoke.
Well, there's that. But
yeah.
Nice.
Did you see a lot of shops out there? Like, is it just everywhere?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So it's just marijuana shops all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Everywhere you go.
So can you just walk in and buy it? You could just.
I mean, I didn't try, so
Well,
I don't know.
and I'm not trying to catch you on anything.
Yeah.
So, Cameron, what
we walked into 5 the first day.
Yeah.
And,
couldn't find Jamaican Bam Bam, so I decided not to.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. I heard that on
Jamaican Bam
Talladega
Bam.
Nights. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Colombian Bam Bam. Yeah. So, anyway.
No, we were up in the mountains in the Rockies, I guess. I think maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Rockies. Yeah, it's not the Appalachian.
Had no service. It was awesome. It's good stuff.
Nice.
But so yeah, I'm glad to be back in Tennessee because it's home and comfortable beds and
Yeah,
kids actually sleep.
it's fun to go, but it's better to come home. Man, no doubt
The
about
real
that.
adventure was in the airport, though, right?
That is true.
I know.
yes.
That's what he told me. That's crazy.
Yeah, we flew into Denver, got there,
Hudson.
and in the airport before we even made it out of the concourse we were in, Hudson, our youngest, dislocated his elbow. So we found an information table. They got the paramedic. Paramedic said he couldn't do anything about it. So Taylor and Hudson took an ambulance to the ER. This is literally like 5 minutes after stepping off
So
the plane.
crazy. You called it something though when you were telling me.
Nursemaid's elbow.
Nursemaid's elbow.
Yeah, Taylor immediately knew what it was, but it's been a while since she's been in school and wasn't trained to do that. So yeah, they went to the ER, and me and Hannon took the train to the baggage claim, and I had to keep up with myself, a 4-year-old, a backpack, a camera bag, a duffel bag, a large suitcase, and 2 full-size car seats.
They just don't travel with small kids.
That was interesting.
Yeah. An adventure to say the least.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and then we went and got the rental car and met him at the ER.
Yeah. I mean, we missed you guys, but we had a great service. I mean, our worship team did a great job, and it was awesome.
Yeah, definitely missed being here. We had a good weekend, but
people sang really good.
here.
Did you notice that?
I did.
People sang big.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool.
It was
awesome.
very
Yeah.
sweet.
Good songs. It was good.
That's awesome. Well, good deal. Yeah, we started a new sermon series this week, Managing Expectations,
We did.
which you've been hearing about for the last few weeks.
Yep.
So I hate to have missed the first week of it, but I did go back and listen, so it's all good. We had a couple questions. One of them was more of a comment than a question, but I wanted to share because it's just super nice and encouraging. Someone said, I visited your 10 o'clock service this morning and was incredibly blessed. Worship was so meaningful and the message was straight from God's word. In a world where many churches want to tickle the ears or preach opinions, it's refreshing to hear a message that is soundly based on Scripture. God bless you all. So that's cool. You made a good point for someone to visit the church and then to seek out how to submit that as a question, encouragement, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, and especially to say that about a basic message.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you're preaching a basic message.
The intro to the series.
What are you trying to say, Jeff?
Nice. Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome, Jeff.
Patty gave some encouragement before.
She did.
Before the podcast.
We were talking about it before we started, and Pat's like, this should be
didn't call
easy.
it out.
It was a basic message. And then she went, wait a minute. Did that sound right? Did that come out right? So, yeah, completely got what you meant.
Yep.
Did you use the word elementary, maybe?
It's that simple mind.
Kindergarten.
The
it is.
simple Kentucky
It is
mind.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Helps
'cause
us
I'm very
understand.
simple-minded
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
Cool. So the other message we got, we'll just move on.
Patty has nothing to say. Like, what else do you want me to say? Let me change my mind? No.
God had a plan. We messed it up. I mean,
no. From that point, it when you shake it all down, it really is not rocket science.
Yeah.
right.
It's very, there it is.
Yeah.
The hard part's execution.
Right.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is bringing that simple thing that we probably all know to application and what it means for
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
Jeff tried really hard to do that yesterday.
He tried really hard.
Oh man, what in the world just happened?
Of all the messages I've heard, that was one of them.
Yeah, and you tried really hard. Not that you accomplished it. Wow.
It was amazing.
This is
Yeah.
great. Patty,
Way
I'm
to-
going to
way
let
to
you
come to
lead the
life.
podcast for the rest of the day.
Way to come to life over there, Patty. Like you better when you just sit over there and not say anything.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and talk about sports all you want.
Yeah, that's right. Or you could do that. Yeah. Nice.
Braves aren't doing good. Can't do that right now.
What about the Olympics? They're over. It was so.
They're all over?
Yes. I think it was a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
I mean, all the hype.
Breakdancing was pretty cool.
Oh my word!
It
Have you
was
seen the
pretty cool.
Australian?
I didn't see
Have you
much. I
not?
saw a couple of them.
Dude, it's so that like the big hype is they didn't really like the Australian person was like, okay, does anybody in Australia breakdance? No. Okay, can you go do it? Sure, I'll try.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous how bad it is.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, it would be like me doing it.
Yeah.
Just like like they do the curly shuffle and like do it. It's pretty funny.
Wow.
You need to go check that out.
That's
It's
pretty funny.
hilarious. Yeah.
The what shuffle?
The curly shuffle. You know what the curly shuffle is?
No, I don't.
Is it like the Cupid Shuffle?
Did you ever watch the? No. Did you never watch the Three Stooges?
Not really.
Oh my word! You.
I mean, I'm aware. I know who they are.
Yeah.
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 But the
I
curly.
thought it was like a legit breakdancing.
Oh
move.
no! The curly shuffle was when Curly, but he would like get down on the ground, and he'd be on his elbow on his side, and he would spin in a circle like. That's the curly shuffle.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was.
Hannon got a glimpse of breakdancing one day, and that's all he did for the rest of the day.
Nice.
He'd be
I
doing
loved it.
handstands. I'm breakdancing. That's awesome.
Yikes.
Yeah, but it was not.
So we might have a
I mean,
future
I think the
breakdancer
girls,
in the
like the
family.
girls, did awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the lady athletes did great. Even in wrestling, man, wrestling was a disappointment. I think a disappointment this year because we didn't get. I mean, we got 3 medals. We got a silver and 2 bronze, no gold, which is very unusual for the USA because we won it the last time, and so. But it's a changing of the guard right now in American wrestling. You got some really good guys that are aging out, and younger guys are coming up, just quite aren't there yet. So, but it was all right.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't like I got to get there and watch it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Patty, you did this. You mentioned sports, by the way.
yeah, sorry. That's okay. All right, we're back. We're back.
I feel enlightened. Thanks.
Yes,
there you go.
thank you.
Yeah.
We did get another question though. Is very. It's kind of there's a question and then a follow up. So I'll ask the question. You can respond to the question, and then if I remember, I will give the follow up after you answer. Well, no, I guess I'll just give the follow up at the beginning. Anyways, the question is from Mark K. Most people
I know.
keep it anonymous, but there was a name on this one. So thank you, Mark, for submitting a question. Mark asks, if God is all knowing and we learned on Sunday that he is not reliant on us, nor does he need us, then did he know that Adam and Eve were going to sin before they sinned at the fall? I'll go ahead and give the follow-up. If so, then I feel like that shows his love for us even more, that he still gives us more and did not depart from us.
Yeah.
Thanks as always, and hope this question makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think the question makes great sense because the concept could be if God knew we were going to fail, then he could have just let us fail and let us beat our own misery and just die in our sin, and he didn't do that. So the answer to the question is yes, God did know because he has foreknowledge. I mean, he knows everything. He knows all. He knows the beginning and the end. So in that, that's where it gets real complicated when you start kind of diving into. It can go so many places. Why did God create Adam and Eve with the capacity to sin? Why did God allow temptation in the garden? Why, there's a lot of other questions that you get into that we don't have. I mean, people attempt to answer those questions.
Yeah. And then it goes extreme to, did God create them to sin?
Yes. Yeah. So you start getting into systems of theology that are built. It's interesting. Systematic theology is, I'm not an enemy of that, but I'm not a huge fan of that either because systematic theology drives a specific system. So when you drive a system, you got to have answers. And so then it forces you to start looking at theological issues and positions and creating answers based off those to fit your system. And God's system isn't always a linear line of this, this, and this.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can go a lot of places. So, yes. I think the answer to all the questions are yes, he did know we were sin. Yes, he did stay with us. I mean, it's easy to say that, in our failure, God was glorified through his son, right? Because God receives glory because of what Jesus did for us, and then His love for us. I mean, the Romans 5:19 passage, right? I think it's 5:19. While we were His enemies, we were reconciled to God through the death of His Son.
Yeah.
So I think God's ultimate purpose, and I love that idea. I don't know if I read this or heard this or what, but when we talk about why we were created, in the Colossians 1:16 passage says that we were created through Him and for Him. And this idea that we were not created so that God could know us, we were created so that we could know God.
Right.
I mean, God's ultimate love for us was that He wanted us to know Him.
Right.
He didn't need to know us, but He wanted us to know Him.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of depth in that thought if you kind of start spinning that out. But just the idea that, man, in our created state, we were created for Him, and it was His pleasure for us to know Him. The only way for us to know ultimate love is to know Him.
Yeah.
And so that's the way we know love. So yes, it's basic, and it seems that, man, it just right there it is, black and white. It makes sense, but yet the concepts can be so mind-blowing and overwhelming if you let yourself go there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, finite minds trying to understand.
Yes, absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
We'll never fully be able to, there's questions that we'll never actually have a full answer to on this side of heaven. And so we take what we know and we try to understand, but also there's just some of that stuff that.
But I think that, yes. And I think the problem gets into it when we feel like we have to get to an answer.
Right.
And if you can answer everything, you don't need faith. Faith is not knowing, but I trust it.
Yeah.
And at some point, our minds run out. Then we start creating scenarios. We start creating answers, and it's just not biblical. Man, just come to your end. There's a logical end that we get to because of our finite minds and the sinful world we live in, and just be okay with that. We're not going to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And that's fine,
Yeah.
That's why we have faith.
For sure. So again, the follow-up, he said, if so, I feel like it shows God's love for us even more, and that He still gave us more and did not depart from us.
Absolutely.
So true. So good. Yeah, since it was a basic message.
Obviously.
Only,
that I attempted to apply.
I only really have kind of one question for us to answer for the podcast today. Kind of to start us off with managing expectations, understanding that just who we are, where we are, what we were created for. With all of this and the message that we heard yesterday, how do we learn to live in the balance of a broken world while being made to give God glory?
Yeah. Well, and I think
that's the golden question, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a $24,000 question. Yeah. I think overall, and this is why I started here, is like if you don't get this one right, the rest of them aren't going to be right. Because the rest of them, everything else in our life will be used and abused to try to figure out how to find satisfaction and happiness in life. So it's just earlier when we were talking, I kind of used the illustration. I think this is the two-path view, is that we're either going to try to figure out, and I think this is what we do, especially in America, is we've got a very capitalistic, Americanized view of Christianity. And Christian Smith, called it moralistic therapeutic deism, where we have a God who just set things in motion, and he's detached from that, but He's always there if we need Him to grab Him to kind of jump in and throw the pixie dust on what we want to do. And that's why we have Jesus in America, is to bless what we want to do. So we pray for Him. We ask Him to come, bless my plans, here's what I want to do. I want to have 2.5 kids, and I want to have the dog and the white picket fence, and I want to have the job and make this much money, live in this kind of house, have this kind of lifestyle, and I want to go to heaven when I die. So Jesus, I need You to make all this happen for me, because this is life. And so, the reality is that even in Christian families, we raise our kids with that kind of view, because we want them to love Jesus, but we want them to love Jesus as they go to college, to get a good education, to get a good job, to have a good family and have a good income and have good savings, so we can do all the things that a capitalistic society says we should do.
Right.
Right. And so in the process of that, we end up having jobs that don't satisfy us, and then relationships that don't satisfy us, and economic situations that don't satisfy us, and stuff that don't satisfy us. And we wonder why we run this road and we never find what we're looking for. And we always go, what's the problem? Like, I know Jesus and it isn't working.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to heaven when I die. So I guess I just kind of wait for that.
Yeah.
So what we do is we just give in to the golden ticket, right? It's the whole Willy Wonka thing. I mean, you just, there's a golden ticket out there for you. Don't worry about it. And you're going to get there someday. So don't worry about it. That's it.
Live your life. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and hurt and abuse people and situations and relationships. And when you don't know the purpose, I heard somebody say this once, when you don't know the purpose of something, abuse is inevitable. And it's so true because you'll use something outside of its intended purpose, looking for something else, and you end up abusing it.
Yeah.
And our expectations begin to manage us.
100%. That's exactly what happens. And so when you start thinking about managing expectations in life, we've got to get back to the intended purpose of why God created us before sin.
That reminds me of who's singing it? We need to get back to
the basics. Yeah, for him.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, good stuff.
If I could sing, I would. But so manage that expectation. Yeah, I did. And so we get to, like, you can't. It's kind of like going to Knoxville and getting on I-65 North to get there. And you're not getting there, and you say, well, you know what? I need a better car. Okay, so you get a better car. You're still not getting there. Well, I need a faster car. You go all through all these scenarios. You're just on the wrong road.
Yeah.
Right? Get on the right road. And when you get on the right road, you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And all the things that you have in your life that you were trying to get someplace on the wrong road is going to help you get there better on the right road. So it's not that the things on the wrong road are bad things. It's just that you're abusing and misusing those things because they're never going to get you there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's exactly what we do in our life as we, as Christians, start living this Americanized capitalistic view of Christianity, which says, have this great middle upper income life. Like, it's funny, like, nobody expects you to be a millionaire. But just kind of middle upper income, just that white collar middle upper income life. It's all good. That's what you're chasing. And God's there to kind of sprinkle the pixie dust on it and make it all happen. And then you're going to go to heaven when you die. And we do that and we pursue that. And it's like, man, life just doesn't make sense, because nothing I get, I'll never forget, having known some of these guys that were world medalists and Olympic medalists and things of that nature, even at my level, on a much lower level, at a more of a national level, achieving some of those things and going, like, that's it. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And you just go, well, that's not it. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Instead of realizing, okay, nothing wrong with those things, but put them on the right road. Okay. So let's completely shift. And that's the thing with this, starting this series this way. Let's completely shift our thinking and let's go back and look at the Word of God and let's see why were we created? Like, I know that's basic and simple, but the reality is, if you want to know the purpose of a thing, go to the Creator.
Yep.
Then you're going to know the purpose of a thing. So, God, why did you create us? And the word's very clear. We were created to bring Him glory and to bear His image. Two very simple concepts. Now, we throw those concepts around, but you can throw those concepts around and still be on 65 North heading to Knoxville.
Yeah.
Because on that 65 North heading to Knoxville, I'm gonna bear God's image. I'm gonna be nice to the person at the at Buc-ee's when I go up, when I stop to get my drinks and whatever. But you're still not getting there.
Right.
So let's get on the right road. So here's the right road. And I thought about this, and Julie and I even talked about this. Like, I wish somebody would have told me when, we were in our late 20s as we were raising our kids, hey, start your kids off very, very early on this path. Your purpose in life is to bear God's image and to bring Him glory. Like that is your purpose in life. I don't want you to ever question what your purpose in life is. Now, how he's wired you, how he's gifted you, you're going to discover that the older you get. But just know all of those things that you discover are for two main purposes: to bear his image and to bring him glory. So don't ever question your purpose in life. Now, that may be that you're a missionary overseas. It may be that you're a doctor in Philadelphia. We don't know. But just knowing all of that, if you're on the right road, the things that God puts in your life, you won't abuse those things looking for something that they were never created to provide. You will use those things to bear his image and to bring him glory. So just stay on the right road. So it's really shifting people to get on the right road. Like the whole purpose of Sunday's message. Get on the right road.
Right.
And then if we get on the road, all these other things start making sense.
Yeah.
Because how many people, I told, everybody yesterday in church, look at your spouse and say, repeat these words after me. You don't satisfy me.
Right.
Welcome to Emmanuel. You know what? Wow. You know what? That's encouraging. But the reality is that you were never created to fulfill that role.
Yeah.
Well, when you're on the wrong road, my spouse is supposed to satisfy me. My job is supposed to satisfy me. My economic status is supposed to satisfy me. My kids are supposed to satisfy me. Go down the line.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when all those things don't work? You end up in a counselor's office or a pastor's office or a lawyer's office.
Yep. Because
you're either looking for something different, you're changing jobs, you're getting in debt because you think that's the answer, or you're not physically abusing, but you're abusing your parental role in your kid's life because you're pushing them to do something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And none of those things work because you're on the wrong road.
Yeah.
So, it really is this idea of let's get back to this idea of here's how and why we were created. Yes, sin came into the world and affected that, but it didn't change our purpose in creation.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the idea. The idea was, well, what happened when sin came into the world? Well, it didn't change the fact that we're still created to bear his image and to live our lives for his glory.
Right.
It just made it a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you have to do is get reconnected to the Father, to the source of our creation and our purpose, so that now we know, now we're living, you're never living out your intended purpose if you're not connected to the Father. Why is it important for people to get saved? Well, obviously, they have an eternal issue that you're dealing with.
Right.
But what's as important? The purpose of their life for the 80 years that they may live here.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you never get connected to the Father, yeah, can somebody get saved at 80, 85, 90? Absolutely. But guess what they've done, man? They've wasted an entire life looking for something that they could never find outside of being connected to God through Jesus.
Yep.
So that's why you got to get you got to get this one right first.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get this one right first, the rest of them don't make any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's challenging. Again, here on this side of heaven, we've still got stuff going on, expectations, and so I love the title of this and the direction we're going with this, with managing expectations. One of the things I was thinking about when you're talking about 75 North going to Knoxville, the other side of that, I think you can also be on the right track of going to Knoxville on 40 West,
East,
but that too. I'm from North Carolina. This is all west.
No, that's true. That's good. Good point. Good
40
point.
East, thank you.
Yeah.
And be running to God, but also like, well, why is this not happening? Why is this not happening?
Yeah.
And kind of be looking in the rearview mirror of like, so then kind of refocusing those expectations of this is the life that we've been called to live and what that looks like.
So let's not pass by that too quickly, because I think that's a really good point. It's not just getting on the right road. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this. I think that 80% of our people in our congregation just need to realize they've been on the wrong road. They've believed the lie. They've accepted this view of American Christianity that says land of the free, home of the brave, capitalistic opportunities, man, do exactly, you can have anything you want, be anything you want, all those kinds of things. So we bought into that, and that's become our purpose in life. And because we came here for that. right?
Yeah.
I mean, are they preaching the same message in Haiti? Are they preaching the same message in the Sudan? Are they preaching the same message in, all around the world? Or is it just, hey, listen, man, live your life for God's glory. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not our message here.
Right.
Because it didn't have to be hard, because you can be anything you want to be, have anything you want, all those types of things. And praise God for that. Like, praise God for the opportunities we have. But look what that's done to us. It's created in us this view of what life is in Jesus. That's not really what life is. Now, let's say you are on the right road.
Right.
And you're living your life to bear his image and, bring him glory. And it doesn't mean it's all going to be easy, but I will say this though, the journey on the right road, the difficulties of the journey on the right road are completely different than the difficulties of the journey on the wrong road.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. The difficulties of the journey on the wrong road are coming because we're not living out our purpose. Now watch this. The difficulties of the journey on the right road are coming because we are living out our purpose. Now here's what I mean by that. When you're on the wrong road, you're dealing with difficulties because you're looking for satisfaction and contentment and joy out of things that were never intended to provide that. Okay. When you're on the right road, you're dealing with difficulties because you've agreed to commit your life to bear his image and to bring him glory. When we do that, that means he has the right to shape us and mold us in the form and fashion that he needs us to be in to bring him glory.
That's right.
And to be his image bearer. Well, guess what? We're not choosing what that shaping process looks like.
Yeah, that might not look like the American dream.
Yeah.
You got that right. It might look like you're in an airport and your youngest son just got his elbow dislocated, and your wife's going this way and you're going this way, and you're going, are you kidding me? Like, seriously, this is happening right now?
Yeah.
I don't know that's how you responded, but I mean, anybody could have responded that way. But even in that, what was God doing? God was shaping you and molding you as an image bearer of him. Because it's training, right? It's training. You just don't show up one day and become a world champion. Hey, I think I want to wrestle. Okay, great. World champion next day. Train. Yeah. Well, if we're image bearers for him and we want to bring him glory through our lives, what is he doing? He's shaping us and molding us to be the best image bearers we can for him.
And if Jesus is our model for how to live this life amongst the brokenness, then we can expect to suffer.
Yeah.
We
absolutely.
can expect to serve because he did those things. He modeled those things.
And it's how we view it as suffering. I always say that he views it as classrooms, right? So, you're in, thank the Lord, I've already gone through the semester of school that you're in right now.
Yeah.
Right? All of us are in different semesters of our, we look to call it school, call it life, whatever. Yeah. We're just in different semesters, right? Yeah. And so, man, every semester has its own challenges, but in those challenges, because you got to think about this, what is God's ideal for our lives? Like, at the end of the day, his ideal for our life is that we are the best image bearer for him than we can be. Why? Because the clearer we are as an image bearer of Jesus, the more the world sees his son. Yeah. So what does God want more than anything? He wants the world to see his son. Yeah. I mean, my goodness, he reconciled us to himself when we were his enemies. Right? Jesus Christ died on the cross for us. God decided about us before we knew him, we knew anything about him. That's how much he loves us. Okay, so his heart's desire is that the world would see his son. If that's supposed to happen through us, then what's he got to do to us? He's got to shape us and mold us and chisel away all the stuff that doesn't need to be there so that people can see clearly the image of Jesus. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, it's and so we call that suffering. Mm-hmm. I think he calls it training. The biblical word for it, sanctification. Mm-hmm. We're set apart. Well, what does it mean when you're set apart? It means you're setting apart the stuff that doesn't belong there for the stuff that does. Yeah. And I believe the way that is that, I don't know if it was Michelangelo was asked this question, but some sculptor, we'll just say it was Michelangelo. They ask him basically when he takes a block of marble, how does he get a statue like David or whatever, the things that he did. He said, all I'm doing is chipping away the parts that aren't the statue. He's not going in to create the statue. He's just chipping the parts away so that you can see the statue.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what Jesus is doing in our life, is that I think the Holy Spirit, through the process of sanctification, is chipping away those parts of us because it's there. The Holy Spirit's in us. And so, like, us being his image bearer is just us chipping away those things in our life so that people can see clearly the image of Jesus.
Yeah, that's cool. You think of, Patty made a great point, thinking of Jesus's life, like the ultimate example. We were created in his image.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be image bearers. Then you look at the other examples we have in Scripture of Paul. I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Then you got James, consider it to the classroom trials.
Yeah.
Consider it pure joy, brothers,
Yeah.
when you face trials. And so, like, the examples in what we see in Scripture is completely contradictory to what we're seeing as the American dream,
Yes.
or even American Christianity.
Absolutely.
Like this, you can do all the things you want to do and live the life you want to live, and then at the end of it, as long as you said the prayer, then you're good.
Right.
Like, you're going to heaven, and that's it.
And the hard part is when we have in our culture churches that are preaching messages to the people on the wrong road.
Right.
Basically telling them, here's how you make your life better, even though you're on the wrong road.
Yeah.
And all that does is give you, it's temporary. It's failed promises, it's false promises, and it's all temporary. You cannot find what you're looking for when you're on the wrong road.
Yeah.
Even as a Christian, you're not going to find it.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, man, why is life not making sense? And I think it's because, and again, I just wish that, people would understand. And it's not, again, I go back to it not being, like you said, Patty, it's not rocket science. It's pretty basic. Listen, start raising your kids this way.
Yep.
Put them on this path.
Yep.
Now, where God will take them and what he'll allow them to do for his glory, we don't know that. And it could be an amazing thing. Or maybe not. Man, maybe they don't go to college. Maybe they go do this. They go do this. Maybe they do whatever he has called them to do to bear his image and to bring him glory. Yeah. And we all have this, that, again, having been through that class already, I had a painted picture in my mind of what I wanted my kids to do.
Yeah.
Man, I wanted them all to go to college. I wanted them all to have my experience. I wanted them all to do the things. I wanted my boys to have the athletic, all those types of things. And you kind of go through it and watch that for some that is their path and some it's not. And that's okay. Because it's not about what we want or what we think this American dream path is going to get us to. It's, man, at the end of the day, what's God called you to do to bear his image and bring him glory?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trying to think how to ask this, because I'm sitting here wrestling with the fact that, like, being in America, expectations, all that we've talked about, like, it almost seems like it's, and again, I hate to say this because it's completely different, but difficult in a completely different way from, the person in Africa or in South America that, they give their life to Christ. They may lose their life for that, or Middle East, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
They may, just by that one decision, their parents, the whole family completely disown them and never talk to them again.
Right.
For us, I think we've been catered to so much that it's all about me. It's all about what I can get, what I can gain, the American dream, live your best life, like all of this. And now, but also you can then live your best afterlife as well.
Yes.
So then we've got this on top, which completely bypasses. It's like that's the add-on to the American dream,
right?
As opposed to shifting and changing everything for life here on this earth.
Yes.
And so how do we? So I say that to say I think it's. I'm not going to say it's more difficult than your family disowning you and potentially losing your life, but it's a different kind of difficult because there's so many people who think they've got it all together and think they've said the prayer and done the deal and they're good to go, but are still living this American dream life that, it may be on the completely wrong road. And so how do we...
So let me ask you a question. So I want you to think about our American view of evangelism.
Yeah.
Just think about what it's based on. And tell me if that view would work in a third world country.
So our view of evangelism being, hey, Jesus died for you. Give your life to him so that you can go to heaven when you die.
Yeah. Because here's what you just said, and you're exactly right. And it's really kind of scary to think that we have almost a, and it's my opinion, so don't, our 4 listeners don't need to send me emails. But it's almost like we have a capitalistic view of salvation. Because like you said, we live in the American dream, and guess what? You can have the afterlife dream as well. You get a big mansion on a street of gold, and you get gates of pearl, and you get to hang out with cool people, and you don't have to buy any. I mean, wow! It's almost like we're selling the ultimate cruise,
right?
It's
true.
Well, does that just kind of feed into a very capitalistic view of how we've been told to live our life? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of scary.
After this American dream dies, you can join the next dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like a timeshare presentation.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. And you go, well,
If the possessions, the eternal possessions, are the focus,
yes.
then definitely that feeds into that capitalistic view. But if Jesus is the focus, everything else is secondary.
None of that matters.
I know growing up, it was all about getting the jewels, the crown, the jewels in the crown. It wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I'm like, that's not mine. I lay these things at the Savior's feet.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my goal, is to honor and bless him with my works on earth.
Yes.
True. Right.
I mean, can you imagine somebody getting to heaven and going, hey, where's my mansion?
Yeah.
Like, are the streets really gold, Peter? Like, man, gates of pearl, do I get those too?
Yeah.
I mean, you almost can figure people are going to get there and go, but we're going to take you to see Jesus. Can I go to my house first?
Yeah.
I mean,
let me see how big mine is before.
Yeah. And aren't they going to be disappointed when they finally realize that Greek word actually means many rooms?
Yeah.
It's not the concept of a mansion like we view a mansion. But we've written
big house.
Yeah, but here's what we've done. We've written our Southern gospel songs, and we've written our Christian songs based on our view, our American view.
Yep.
Our mansions in glory, right? That word actually means many rooms, and what that means is that when a person would get married in that culture, they would add a room to their parents' house. Mm-hmm. And here's what he's saying: there's many rooms in my house, and my father's. Think what he says. In my Father's house are many what? We say mansions, many rooms. We're going to live with the Father in His house.
So we'll get there and ask which room is ours before we see Jesus.
Yeah, right? It's just this idea of He wants all of His children to live with Him.
Yeah.
And I think we've got this view of, what neighborhood am I in, and am I on the golf course, and how big is my mansion, and does my chariot have gold wheels or silver wheels or bronze wheels?
Yeah.
Is that going to be based on how I live my life? And
isn't that wild? We want heaven to look like Earth looks.
Yes, yes, we do.
When I get to heaven, I want a ton of land and horses and cows and like what?
Because you know what? I deserve that.
That's right.
I deserve that.
No, it's not right.
Yeah, man. Ooh, you know what a good sermon in this series would be? Managing expectations of the afterlife.
Yeah, true. True.
Yikes. We may need to go back and change our six topics or throw that in somewhere.
Yeah. I love what you said earlier. You said when you don't know the purpose of something, abuse is inevitable. I don't know where you got that from, but that's going to stick with me. Because it's so true. You think about practical things like, you take a Ferrari down a dirt road.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be there. You are going to abuse that vehicle.
That's right.
What are some examples of that? And that may be the things that we're about to talk to with through the rest of the series. But what are some examples of things that we tend to abuse in this life that we are just completely using for the wrong purpose, but that should be used for the purpose of glorifying God?
Yeah. I'll tell you, from my student ministry days, I think the biggest thing that we struggled with and we saw was just the abuse of intimacy, the abuse of physical relationships.
Yeah.
When you don't know the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. Yeah. And so you've got teenagers who are diving into this world that they have no earthly idea what its purpose is.
Yep.
Right? Most married people don't understand what its purpose is. Right? And so you've got teenagers who all of a sudden have discovered things about themselves, and all of a sudden they're figuring things out. And now in the world that we live in today, my goodness, I'm even learning things that is so much worse than it was when I was in student ministry 15 years ago, that it's just gotten so much worse. Yep. And the reality is that they don't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Yep. So abuse is inevitable. Yeah. And so when they finally get in a marriage relationship, that's their mentality of what they, and you know what that does? It just continues to be cursed, because here's why I feel like when I say that married people don't even understand that is, when we have intimacy in marriage, we feel like that's our source of satisfaction. Mm. Because again, it's one of the buckets that I hear about when couples come in for counseling is, the man 99.9% of the time will always say, well, like for example, I do a series of questions, 1 to 5. I want you to rate this 1 to 5. How do you guys feel like you're communicating 1 to 5? How do you feel like you're, different things?
I bet everybody's 5 on that, right?
No, ladies are 1, men are 5. It just always works out that way. How do you think you guys are handling your financial life? Just different areas of our life that I know there are consistent buckets that we deal with. Yeah. When I always get to intimacy, it's always, the guy's going to rate it on a 1 to 5 basis 2. He's not going to say 1 because that would be like horrible, but he's going to give
that's rude.
Yeah, that's rude. But he's going to give it like a 1/2. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Ladies is always like 4 to 4/5. Like, yeah, I'm good. And so you just because one's completely unsatisfied, and one feels like we're knocking it out of the park. You know what I'm saying? Well, so then you got so we're abusing those things, because I will tell the man, hey, listen, that's not a physical issue, that's a spiritual issue. Mm. And he's like, what, do you want me to pray more? No, I mean, you're looking for satisfaction in the wrong places. Because when you're satisfied in Christ and you understand you're searching and you're seeking for the right place and source of satisfaction, then you're not looking at these other things to provide something for you it cannot provide. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the whole woman at the well story, which is such a great story in this. What did Jesus say to the woman at the well? If you drink of this water, you're going to what?
Thirst again.
You're going to want more.
Yep.
It's never going to satisfy you. It's never going to satisfy you. So inside that well is all the things that we pursue in our life here on this earth that never satisfy us. Yeah. But Jesus said, if you drink of the living water, you'll never thirst again. Mm-hmm. So there's that picture of, how do we look at these things? And so we end up abusing those things. So I think that's one area that we do that in. And then I think we jump into like marriage, and I think we look at marriage, and I think we've all been told, we've all been sold the bill of goods that our spouse, man, once you find the right spouse, you found your ultimate source of happiness and satisfaction.
Right.
Then you get into it a little while and you go, did I miss something?
Right. And that shifts our life. Being married, also pre-married, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Before you're married, that's what you're searching for. That's what you're looking for. Once I get that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Even just go back to the garden. God never said to Adam, man, it's not good that you're alone, so I'm going to create somebody for you that will be your ultimate source of satisfaction.
Yeah.
No, he said, I'm going to create something for you, somebody for you that will be a helpmate.
Yeah.
Help what? What does that mean? When you talk about, it's almost like I'm going to create for you someone that you can be on this journey with. What's the journey? See, that's the question. Their journey was to bear God's image and to bring him glory.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring you somebody that you can walk through life with so that you won't be alone, that together you will bear my image and bring me glory better than you could alone. So that's it. Like that's marriage.
Yeah.
Because that's it. That's what God created. Right? And then sin came to the world, and we get that, and we get the challenges of that. So I think we go to parenting, and we do the same thing. Because do you know how many times I've heard people say this, ladies say this, man, if I could just have a child, I'd be so happy. And I get it. I know that's in mothers, and I understand that, and I get that. Yeah. But I can tell you this, you're not, because it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very difficult. And yes, it's such a blessing, but that's not your source of satisfaction. Being a mom isn't what satisfies you. Being in Christ and pursuing his call for your life, it's the only thing that satisfies you, right? Because guess what? Children will disappoint you. Children are hard. Parenting is difficult. And then they'll start growing up and you'll start pushing your agendas into their life. And then they get burned out. Like I see it in sports where kids are pushed so hard now from 4th, 5th, 6th grade on up. By the time they get to high school, they're tired of it. They don't want to do it. They quit. And now moms and now dads, they're just, well, let them be what God's created. Your job as a parent is to steward them through the process of them being what God has called them to be.
Yeah.
But if we're on the wrong road, guess what we do? We mess that up. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So, and then even in our jobs, right? How many times we get, and I was guilty of this when I was in ministry early, is I would get in a situation that would get difficult. I'm like, man, this is stupid. I'm going to go somewhere else, where it'll be easy and they'll love me. And because it just gets hard at some point. Yeah. But when you finally realize it's not about that, that's not where your source of satisfaction and happiness. I wish someone would have told me that early in life, but just, man, sometimes you got to fight through it. My mentor in ministry, I asked him, I said, how have you been at this church for 35 years? He said, Jeff, I finally realized in my ministry that every place had the very same people with the very same problems. They just had different names. Yeah. He said, when you finally realize that, and you finally realize that your job, even as a pastor, is not what makes you satisfied and happy, it's your walk and fulfilling what Christ has called you to do, then you don't look to that for that. So I think in all of our lives, we can abuse these things that when we're on the right road to bear God's image and bring him glory, our marriage makes sense. Like Julie and I, and I'm not saying we've understood this all of our years, but we have understood that we're in this together. We're partners in this. And so, and God put us together to walk through this life together to bear his image and to bring him glory. And so as long as we're doing that together, and as long as we are looking at those things in our life, our finances and our children and like all the other things of our life, those aren't put there so that we could find something we're looking for. Those are put there so that we can steward those things to bring God glory and to bear his image. Yeah. But if I'm on the wrong road, I'm using all of those things. I'm abusing all of those things. I'm destroying all of those things because I'm frustrated because I'm not getting where I'm supposed to go, but I'm still driving. Yep. And so so here's what I do. I just keep driving, and I realize that that's just what life is. And I'm going to be angry, and I'm going to be frustrated, and people around me are going to sense and feel that. But one day I'm going to get to go to heaven and have my mansion. So I just start living that way. Yeah. I mean, what kind of life does that create? Right. What kind of image bearer for Christ does that create? Right. Not a good one.
No.
Because you said yesterday that Christians should be the most satisfied people in
yes.
this life. And those two things don't go together.
No, they don't, Patty.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, think about that. Who else in this world has what we have?
Right.
We are reconnected to the Father through Jesus. Even other religious people.
Yep.
That if they're not going through Christ, they're not reconnected to God through the Father. Yep. I mean, through the Son. They're just not. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. So we believe that. We stick to that. We have the privilege of knowing that.
Yep.
So that we should be the most satisfied people on this earth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that, it changes everything. You think about the examples you gave, right? Marriage, parenting, our work life, even a single life. Like there's, regardless of what phase of life, and Paul's a great example of this, as you see in his letters. Like Jesus is our example that we're to live towards. So, but Paul as just a believer, a follower of Christ, is a great example. I think back to the verse that we were in this last series of Paul saying, I wish you were as I am, but because in Paul's single, we went through all that in the last series. But if you can't control your passions, then go ahead and get married. Thinking of, from a single person's life, thinking of your life as a life to glorify God shifts everything. It's not when I get married, then I'll be able to glorify God. Or
That's
when
right.
I have
That's
kids,
right.
then I'll be able to glorify
That's
God.
right.
Or right now, you have such an opportunity to
Yes.
glorify God in that. From a married standpoint, using that as a journey in life, prayerfully, you're both married and can use that as a partner in life together to glorify God. Kids, you talked about pushing agendas. You're going to push whatever agenda you are focused on.
100%.
So if you're focused on glorifying God, that's the agenda you're going to push to your kids.
Yep.
And so you think about how it just shifts everything. Our work life. If our work life is just to make money, then I mean, that only benefits us here on this life.
Well, okay, but here's what we do as Christians, like in ministry. It's not really to make money, but it's supposed to make me happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you get unhappy, what do? Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, but I mean,
No.
it can happen to us as well.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we get unhappy, we get dissatisfied, and then what do? We start looking for some place we think is going to satisfy us.
Yep.
And it doesn't work. Like, listen to me, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, you get where God's called you to be, and you stay planted until He very clearly says, okay, now it's time for you to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And viewing that in light of God's ultimate plan too. You know, I mean, this last weekend we had a very unexpected, we already paid to go on this trip. Now we got an ambulance bill and an ER bill coming. So we could very quickly be like, crap, now we got to do something with that.
Right.
But like we're riding in the car, 2-hour drive from Denver to Breckenridge where we stayed. And we just had to keep reminding ourselves, like, God's going to take care of it. It forces us in our lives to put everything on Him because our lives are to give Him glory.
Right.
And He is going to take care of us in that process.
So you got to believe me when I tell you this. When God enrolls you in His school, He pays the tuition.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. Hey, dude, trust me. When you're in His classroom,
Yeah.
He's paying the tuition.
Yeah.
He's already paid it.
Right.
So, like, I'm not being a prosperity guy right now, but I'm just telling you, all of that was a part of your all sanctification process, right? Shaping and molding you guys, man. Just because that's just life does that. He's paying the tuition.
Yeah.
So somehow, somewhere, God's going to provide for that,
Right.
because He's not going to put you in a situation where He's shaping and molding you, and then go, oh, by the way, dude, yeah, sorry, here comes the bill. Because even in the bill, He's going to He's shaping and molding you to trust Him.
Yeah. It's not, here's the bill, figure it out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've seen that true time and time again. I know y'all have too.
Absolutely.
I always think back to Firm Foundation. He's never failed before, so why would he fail
Yes.
now? He
Yeah.
won't.
Such
He's
a
not going
great man.
to. Yeah.
It makes me think of Julie, because I would use that statement with Julie when Alec was going to Bonnaroo or whatever, you know, and like, he's going to take the pot. I'm like, has he ever done that in the past? No, but that's what that place is. Anyway,
That's
sorry.
funny.
Yeah.
I think a great way, something that's, I think back when we went to New York last year, kind of shifted my thought process of this, but a great way to think about all of this, and really as we go through this series, are we just Christians or are we followers of Christ? Because Christianity, it's a religion, it's what we believe, it's, you know, but if it's just about being a Christian, and again, I know that's
define
right.
that in American culture.
Right. Being a Christian means when you die, you go to heaven.
Bingo.
If you're a follower of Christ, that shifts the way you live life here on this earth.
That's exactly right.
I mentioned New York because, you know, when you're talking to people who grew up Muslim or Hindu, like that's the religion that when they were born, they were Muslim. Like
Right.
it is on their birth certificate, Muslim.
Wow.
And so they look at us and think, well, when
Christian.
they're born, they're Christian.
That's right.
And so they see pop culture and everything and think it's all Christian. Are we just Christians because we see what's in the afterlife? Because for them, they are living this life really more sold out than a lot of us. But their purpose of living this life is for the afterlife.
It's the promise. That's right.
For us, we have a promise here on this earth and the afterlife.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so we have a purpose to follow Jesus here and then continue living to give Him glory
Yes.
for all of eternity.
So I would say it this way, just because it's the preacher in me, to where all they have in their mind is a promise.
Yep.
We have a purpose and a promise, right? So our purpose is to live our lives to bear His image and to bring Him glory. Our promise is what He's got waiting for us.
Yeah.
You know, and He does. I mean, I don't ever want anybody to think I downplay eternity.
Yeah.
Because without question, Jesus told Peter asked the question, we've given up everything for you. What's in it for me? I mean, he just did. Peter asked a very honest question, and Jesus just didn't scold him, but He said, Peter, I got things you can't even imagine. Like, it's going to be good, bro. Like, just trust me on that one. You know, so I know the Father is going to lavish his bride. I kind of know that. But that's not at all what I'm supposed to. I'm living for his purpose while I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, so that these 80, 81, whatever it is, these years count for the right reason and the right purpose. And then my kids, like, I don't want my kids growing up and jumping from job to job to job and from relationship to relationship to relationship because they're looking for satisfaction in life.
Yeah.
And they're never going to find it. And the question is that we have to ask ourselves is, did we model that correctly for them? Did we teach them? Did we lead them? And did we model for them? I mean, what Paul said. You know, it makes Paul's statement so much clearer now when Paul said, man, I know what it means to have a lot, and I know what it means to have a little, but I've learned to be content in all situations.
Yeah.
Well, how do you get there? Like, I remember asking that question as a younger guy, like, how do I get there? You know, but the reality is that Paul says when you finally figure out those things are not what gives you satisfaction, it doesn't.
But doing all things through Christ is what it, And
then how have we pulled that verse out of context?
Yep.
You know, Paul's just saying, look, when you realize those things aren't what makes you happy and gives you satisfaction you're looking for, it really doesn't matter if you got a bunch or a little, because you still stay the same. You know, it's just, I only have a little and God's going to show his glory through that, or I've got a lot and God's going to show his glory through that. It really doesn't matter. You know, bearing his image and bringing him glory isn't affected by my financial condition. Right. It's just wherever God has me at that point in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. I'm excited for, I know this was the basic message at the beginning.
Basic, an attempt to apply.
Yeah, you tried.
I mean, I did the best I could. I'll do better. I promise I'll do better this Sunday. I promise.
Great effort.
Patty, now I got the great efforts.
You got the participation trophy.
Yes. Man, that's where the coach says, hey, coach, how'd I do? Man, you tried hard.
You tried so hard.
You tried hard.
Sweating. Wow. That's awesome.
I don't know what, man, did you not give Pat and I have coffee? I mean, like, what happened today? Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
Man,
here we are.
Did Julie call Patty and say, hey, humble my husband if you don't mind? I don't need, I've got plenty of
humbling.
Yes. I don't need any more players on that team.
Well, looking forward to the rest of this series. What's our topic this week that we're managing?
Well, you know, we kind of met and mapped those out, and I think number 2 is managing our expectations with our relationship to our church.
Yeah, which
church life and worship. You know,
I
think it's gonna be good.
That's good. Looking forward to the rest of this series. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week.
Next week.